Hi everyone, welcome back to another Singapore Maths Academy video. My name's Mohi and I'm going to be taking you through this directed numbers video where one of our students asked me to help her with some problems she's having with directed numbers, which is quite common because direct numbers is something that we don't usually use in our daily life, and so it can be complicated sometimes when we first see it, and we can easily forget because we don't really use it that regularly. So let's look at some directed numbers and some questions related to directed numbers. So I've got a tool that I use for directed numbers just to understand directed numbers a little bit better. So for example, when I've got 1, we need to know some basic rules of directed numbers before we can go into more challenging questions. So we know 1 is 1, right? Everyone knows what 1 is. But what's the negative of 1? The negative of 1 is just negative 1. What's the negative of 1? It's negative 1, right? So when we've got 1 and we try to work out the negative of 1 is negative 1. When we've got 1 and we've got a negative 1, we should know that 1 and negative 1 together, 1 add negative 1 makes 0, right? 1 add negative 1 is 0. Now we're going to look at why that is a bit later on and what happens when we've got numbers more than 1 and more than or smaller than negative 1. And so the first step is when we've got 1, the negative of 1 is negative 1. What about the negative of negative 1? The negative of negative 1 is 1. So 1 negative of 1 is going to be negative 1. Negative 1, the negative of negative 1 is 1. Those are things that we need to know. Those are two things that we need to know really well, and we have to remember. The negative of 1 is 1, or is it negative 1? The negative of 1 is negative 1. The negative of negative 1 is 1. It's like saying today is Wednesday, right? That's 1. Today is Wednesday. Today is not Wednesday, right? That's negative 1. And today is not Wednesday. That means it's Wednesday again, right? So the negative of 1 is negative 1. The negative of negative 1 is 1. And those are two rules we need to use all the way through today's session. Right, so let's go into some questions. When we have questions like 3 add 4, we're really confident with this, right? We see it every day. We can do 3 add 4 is 7, no problem. But we get confused when we have something like 3 add a negative 4. So here's my 3, 1, 2, 3. And here's my negative 4. We're adding negative 4 to 3, right? We're adding negative 4 to 3. So I've got 3 add negative 4 here. 3 add negative 4. And what we need to remember is something that we looked at just a while ago. When we've got a negative and a positive one together, that cancels each other out. So 1 add negative 1 is 0, right? It's like saying 1 take away 1. 1 add negative 1, 0. 1 add negative 1, 0. And so we're left with negative 1, right? 3 add negative 4 is negative 1. It's similar to 3 take away 4, right? 3 take away 3 is 0. Take away another one is negative 1. So when we're adding, we can think of, when we're adding a negative number to a positive number, we can think of it as, well, how do I actually cancel them out? Can I cancel them out? And that's one way of thinking about questions where we have got a whole number, a positive whole number, and we've got a negative number we're adding to it. Let's try another one. 6 add negative 4. 6 add negative 4. So I know 6 is a simple case, right? We know what 6 is. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as I'm doing this, you can work this out. Add negative 4. So we've got negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. And we can see that these 4 negative ones, I'll put it underneath, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 negative ones, and the 4 positive ones will cancel each other out. Let's have a look. 1, add -1, 0, 0 again, 0 again, 0 again. And what are we left with? We're left with a positive 2. 6, add -4 is going to be a positive 2. Let me rewrite that again because I nearly wrote -2 is a positive 2. So the -4 took away 4 from the 6 and we're left with 2 there. Okay, that's adding negative numbers. Okay, so let's have a look at a few more questions. So we've got -4, add -5 as our next question. So now we've got a negative and we're adding to another negative, right? Let's see how that would look visually. That always helps me to kind of understand the structure of the problem. And then from there, I can use my logic and my reasoning skills to answer other questions that are similar. So -4 means we've got 4 lots of -1s. So that's -4 here. And we're adding. What happens when we add? Right? Have a think normally. If I had 3, add 4, we add more on, right? So we're going to add a few more on. We've got -5 now. So we've got 1, 2, 3, -4, and -5, right? Can you see now that if this represents -4, if that represents -4, and I'm adding all of this, which is -5, then all together, I'm going to have -9, right? All together, this is -9. Because if I've got 4 lots of -1s, that makes -4, and I've got 5 lots of -1s, that makes -5, then all together, I've got 9 lots of -1s, which is going to be -9. So when we're adding negatives, it's not too bad, right? It's like 4 add 5 is 9. Here, we've got -4 add -5, which is -9. You can visualize it in this way. Even if you want to, you can draw -1s. If you need to, if you're really confused and make sure, you can draw -1s like this, and you're adding another -5, right? You can write -1s in all of these, and you can see for yourself, yeah, it is right, right? I was right in the first place. It is -9. So that's something that we see quite often, right? Negative numbers add another negative number. So now hopefully that's a bit more clearer for you. What other questions can we cover in today's session? So let's have a look. We've also got something like 3 take away -2, which is always a problem for a lot of our students, right? 3 take away -2 just means 3 add 2. Why is that? A lot of us get confused here. So let's have a look. When we've got taking away a negative, it's the same as the not rule. Okay, so today is Wednesday, today is not Wednesday, today is not Wednesday, right? When you've got a negative and you're taking away a negative, we have to think of that as like the not rule, as I mentioned. So this becomes 3 add 2, right? So we've got a positive 3 here. Let's have a look at that. Got 1, 2, and 3. We've got a positive 3, and we're taking away 2. If I took away 2, it would just be taking these 2 away, right? Boom, gone. It would be 1. But we're taking away -2, and so that means that we're going to add 2 more on. Because if I took away 2, it would just be 1. But I'm taking away a -2, which means to add 2. It's like that not rule, right? Does that make sense? If I'm not taking away 2, that's one thing. That means I'm going to add 2, or I don't take away or I don't take away anything, right? But it's, in this case, I'm taking away a -2, which means to add 2 on. So here we've got 3 take away -2, which means 3 add 2, which is equal to 5. Right, so we've got one more type of question I need to go through with you. Negative 4, in this case, negative 4, take away negative 5. Negative 4, take away negative 5. Right, so now I've got negative 4. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm taking away a negative 5. So we've mentioned this. When we take away a negative, it means we're going to add in this case, right? If I took away negative 5, that's something different, right? But I'm taking away a negative 5. So what does that mean? I'm taking away a negative 5 means in this case, I'm going to add 5 on. If I add 5 to negative 4, let's add 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to add these 5 on. And so what happens when we add the 5 on? Let's have a look. Well, the 1 and negative 1 cancel each other out, right? That becomes 0. And so I'm just left with 1. Negative 4, take away negative 5 is the same as negative 4, add 5. We know negative 4 add 4 is 0, and therefore negative 4 add 5 must be 1. Okay, so that's another type of question we've covered, right? So is there anything else that we need to cover for addition and subtraction? Or are we okay? Let's go for one more question just to make sure. Let's do this. We might have covered this already, just to check if you have understood the questions that we've gone through. So have a go at this. 6 take away negative 4. What does that mean? 6 take away negative 4. What did we say? That when we've got to take away a negative, right? It's the same as adding. So 6 add 4. 6 add 4 is 10, right? Let's have a look. 6 is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And therefore, I've got my 6 here. And I'm taking away 4 would be 2. But I'm taking away negative 4 means I'm adding 4 more on. So if I add 4 more on, yep, it gives me 10. 6 add 4 is 10. Perfect, right? So hopefully that's made sense to you. And we can go into multiplying and dividing in our next video.